came from planning. Now, what does that one mean? It means that the whole paper, that is paper 1 and paper 2, UNEB is going to examine 11 topics. That is the 5 topics of section A, and then the 6 topics in section B. Actually, if it was possible to show you the course outline, I would show it to you, implying that for somebody who sports, some of us, we are very good at sporting. Out of the 16 topics, you decide to read 8, knowing that at least those 8, they will bring a question. I will not fail to get the 4 questions. My dear candidate, you can easily be outsported. Remember, out of 16, they are asking only 11. If you read 8 only, implying that it is possible to find only 3 and 5 are not there. So please, we avoid as much as possible to spot. Now, when reading these questions, my dear candidates, try as much as possible to understand what the question requires. Be in position to know which direction you are going to take. Is the question asking about the increase, decrease, high, low, or neutral, as we shall see by the sample questions that we are going to look at? Then try to understand the tense of the question. Is the question in present tense, present continuous, past tense, or future tense? You need to, because failure to understand that, then you'll be answering your own question. Especially on questions asking for measures. Measures being taken is different from measures that have been taken, and is different for measures that should be taken. I don't know if I've been clear on that. Then two, I said that, or 3, I said that I would talk about the do's and the don'ts. Now, in economics, most popular questions, when it comes to section, or I'll just be general, most questions call for distinguishing or differentiating. When we are differentiating concepts, we are interested in seeing the distinguishing term. And that distinguishing term, we are expecting to see while, well as, yet, and but. Preferably, personally, I but you'll be penalized. Now, for questions that call for comparisons, there are some comparative questions. Questions. Try to use words like unlike, compared to, than, which is not the case any of those ones. Because once you don't bring out that comparison, then you'll be answering your own question. Maybe something that I need to note here is that economics is one of the subjects that is considered to be very hard. But that is just a consideration. We just consider. But economics is supposed to be a very easy subject. Simply because we fail to know what the question requires or how to answer the question. You leave a paper thinking that you have answered, yet in actual sense, you've not answered. Now, there are questions that will call for an account 4. For questions calling for is that question that is asking for why, or questions that ask for reasons or rationale. When answering such a question, we basically look at the word to, preferably use to. Of course, you can use other words for purposes of this in order to, but preferably start your answers with to. Here you have to note, not all questions that ask for reasons start with to. I'm getting some kind of feedback. I request that can reduce the voice, or the volume or something of that sort. Now, we were still continuing. Let's not assume that all questions that call for reasons we use that to. Year's paper. Maybe we shall look at last year's papers later on. Now, there are questions that calls for analysis, analyze the factors that influence the rate of economic growth in Uganda. For example, that was 2017, but even last year in paper 2, there was a question asking for analyze the causes of open urban unemployment in Uganda. For such questions, it's like requiring you to discuss or to explain. Here you critically look at something in details. You are supposed to give a detailed explanation of that concept that is being asked. These days it has become instead of requiring you to explain, they require you to analyze. But basically, analysis is the same as explaining. Then we have questions to do with assessing. Assess the role, assess the effects, assess the implications, assess. With assessing, it has the same approach with examining. Examine the factors, examine the effects, examine the role. Maybe here, when it comes to examining or assessing the role, be mindful that you are looking at that question roles, the positive and the negative impacts, effects, etc. However, you have to note, not all concepts we have got both positive and negative. Take an example. If you are looking at unemployment, we know it very well that unemployment is mainly negative. So examining the effects of unemployment, we shall give only the disadvantages. Examining the effects of fluctuation prices of prices of agricultural products, shall give only negative. If you're examining the effects of hyperinflation, we give only negative. If effects of mild inflation, we give only positive. So much as we are saying that assessing and examining, we give both positive and negative, critically look at the question or the concept being, or you are examining. Now, there are very many questions that will call for factors that influence, factors that affect, factors that determine. For such questions, please give a neutral point, punctuate it, and explain it on both sides. Take an example. Explain the factors that influence the rate of capital accumulation in Uganda. That was last year, 2022, paper 2, question 2, part B. Now, there are questions. I don't know whether that person is going to ask. Let me check the person. Please, please, please. I'm not seeing the person incidentally. There are questions that call for, there are some circumstantial questions. Under what circumstances may trade unions demand for higher wages? Maybe for circumstantial questions, you must create a circumstance in case, if in your answers, in case, when, if we use such words. For questions calling for principles, here for principles, the principle should come first, especially those are questions about principles of taxation, principles of planning, etc. State the principle, punctuate it, then explain it. Make sure that you have the right spelling of the principle, because in economics, misspelling an economic concept, you are penalized. And since the principles are all concepts, then you'll be working at a loss. Maybe we would continue to look at the various questioning tactics and techniques. But generally, we still have a full year ahead of us, because we shall be sitting in around November. We are still in January. Maybe before we go any further, allow me say this. From the course outline, I told you that we have 16 topics. I'm very sure by now, each one of us has covered the introduction. You know what is economics, you know the economic questions, you know the economic systems, and all other things that are involved. You covered price theory very well. You know the demand theory, you know the supply theory, you know price mechanism, you know price fluctuation, you know price controls, and each and everything that is involved, elasticities and the rest. I'm very sure at school, you covered production. You know the factors of production, you know the theory of costs, the revenue concept, and so many market structures and all that is involved. And also, I'm very sure that you must have covered the structure of Uganda's economy, because according to the NCDC, those are the senior 5 topics. And we had much as we ended the term a week earlier, but I think by the time we ended the term, the teachers must have covered those areas. Now, to some students, you must have covered also either employment and unemployment as a topic, and also inflation, because those are short topics that are normally covered in senior 5. By the way, you also must have covered national income. So all those around 5 topics, you covered them from the beginning to the end. Is that so, members?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Now,
Yes.
somebody is saying yes, others are saying no. Maybe if I could repeat, at least with the introduction, I'm very sure This one, we did it even ourselves. I remember during that COVID time, those who were attending, we covered that to the completion. We did price theory, only that here, during that time, we only did price, the demand theory, and we had just started on the supply theory, and then COVID period came to the end. But at school, I'm very, very sure that everyone covered it. Then with production, this one, I'm very sure 99% of it was including market structures. Then national income, I'm very sure everyone did that, and probably some could have covered structure of Uganda's economy. Some might not have covered it, because some teachers, personally, I normally bring that one last, because it encompasses all topics. It is, I'm getting feedback. Members, Abe, please try to mute. TWS, please try to mute.
TWS.
Okay. Please only unmute if you have a contribution to make. Thank you. Now, I wanted to, if we have our last year's papers, you can get it closer to you, because I wanted us to see how hard or easy the papers were. I would share it, only that my PC tried to misbehave, so, and yet all the work was on the PC. With the phone, I'm not so good at using it. Maybe, is there somebody with it in a soft copies so that we allow him to share? If you have last year's papers, paper 1 and paper 2. Yes, members. Okay, yes. Lincoln, thank you. Can you share? Lincoln, I'm seeing a hand.
Let me try to, but I'm also not very sure. But let me try.
Okay.
So you can maybe make me the co-host.
Okay, let me. Incidentally, I'm a co-host, and once I give out my right, you'll have, after utilizing it, you'll have to send it back to me. Is it okay? Lincoln, is it okay?
The government was also saying.
Yes, Lincoln, you are a co-host, please. Lincoln. as we wait for Lincoln to try that, I told you at the beginning that each question represents a topic. If you have that paper 1, question 1 part A, it was asking for distinguish between multiplier and accelerator principle as used in economics. 2 marks. I'm very sure all the people I'm with right now would earn all those 2 marks because that is a question coming from national income. Which topic we had covered? Anybody saying no? Anyone who did not cover national income on the platform?
Yes.
Patricia, are you saying yes? For you covered, okay. But I've heard somebody saying yes. So there is somebody who never covered national income. Can somebody assist that person to define for him or her what multiplier and the accelerator principle?
Teacher, I try multiplier.
Yes, multiplier.
Hmm?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Multiplier is the number of times an initial change in a given expenditure multiplies to give a final national income.
Thank you so much. Multiplies itself to give a final change in national income. 2 marks. 2 marks. No, that is 1 mark because the whole question is 2 marks. So the other mark you earn it after defining the accelerator principle. What is the accelerator principle as used in national income? Anyone with an idea, members?
I think accelerator principle is the same as consumption multiplier. So it's the number of times an
Saying something?
Teacher.
Yes, please. We are listening.
Accelerator principle is the same as consumption multiplier.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's the
consumption multiplier?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's the number of times an initial change in expenditure multiplies itself to give a final change in national income.
Okay, now it is not exactly the same as the consumption multiplier, but the accelerator principle relates consumption to investment. Multiplier relates expenditures to the final change in income, but this one, the accelerator principle, gives the relationship between the consumption expenditure with the investment. So by definition, we defined the accelerator principle as the number of times an initial change in consumption expenditure multiplies itself to generate a final change in investment. The number of times an initial change in consumption expenditure multiplies itself to generate a final change in investment. Are we there?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Number of times an initial change in consumption expenditure multiplies itself to generate a final change in investment. Remember, for investment to go on, there must be demand. Investors are always interested in producing something, and at the end of the day, what is produced is consumed. So once the market is there, the more profits are going to be earned. And the more profits, the more is going to be plowed back, keeping other factors constant. So once there is consumption, investment is expected to increase. So what gives that relationship is what we are calling the accelerator principle. So it is change in by formula, it is change in investment over change in consumption. Are we there, members?
Yes.
Okay. Then question, part 2 of that very question was given the marginal propensity to consume, given MP's marginal propensity to consume as 80%, and the change in income is 1 million shillings. Calculate the multiplier. Calculate the multiplier 1 mark, and then change in investment, another 1 mark. How do we get the multiplier given the marginal propensity to consume?
Multiply 1 over 1 minus 100 raised to consume.
Anyone with, I'm seeing TWS has an idea. I wish we had used the names. It would be now here. To earn that 1 mark, you must have the formula, the substitution, and the answer. Yes, Patricia. Natocho, I don't know if you have you're trying to give us the answer or
No.
okay. Here, when we are getting the multiplier, given the marginal propensity to consume, the formula is always 1 over 1 minus MPC. If you are given the marginal propensity to save, it would be multiplier equals to 1 over MPS. But for this very question, it is 1 over 1 minus MPC. So you substitute, MPC is 80%, so it would be 1 over 1 minus 0.8, and then you calculate.
I've done.
How do we get the change in investment?
Yes.
But I'm not hearing, Master.
You are not hearing. I have said that given marginal propensity to consume, to get the multiplier K, it is given by the formula 1 divided by 1 minus MPC. See, it's not easy to speak mathematics. It's usually we display, but unfortunately, I'm not using the PC. So we are saying that multiplier K is equal to 1 divided by 1 minus MPC. So that is going to be 1 divided by 1 minus 0.8. So that will be 1 over 0.2, which gives us, I think, is it 5?
Yes.
5 as an answer.
5 times.
Okay, 5 times. So given an initial change in investment, that investment expenditure is going to multiply itself 5 times to give the final change in income. So we are part 2, we are also required to calculate the change in investment.
I'll tell you.
So how do we get the change in investment? TWS, you have an idea? Please share it. Members, sorry, I had gone off. The network had gone off, sorry. Hope we are still there. Okay, can we go to the next question? Part B. Are we? Rose, you are now the host. May I request you give me the host right? Or you make me a co-host? Nabukera, you are the host. Anyway, let's proceed. Going to part B of the question. This one comes from economic growth and development. I don't know if very many of us had covered that. What is meant by unbalanced growth strategy of economic development? And then mention any 3 limitations of unbalanced growth strategy. I don't know if we needed to spend any time on that. Anybody who had covered economic growth and economic development, members?
Yep.
Good.
Strategy.
Thank you. Who is that one? The question is asking, what is meant by unbalanced growth strategy of economic development? Yes, Daphne? Daphne, go ahead. Okay, if Daphne can't, then Nena can go ahead.
I think the unbalanced growth is the one where there's a leading sector with strategic importance to be selected first and expanded so that it pulls up or develops other sectors through linkages.
Okay, thank you so much. So here it is first of all, it's a theory of it's one of the theories of development, which states that an economy it states that investment should be made in one or few or key sectors of the economy that would ultimately lead to growth of other sectors through linkages. So here, if you are to develop, for example, Uganda, you invest a lot in agriculture, and once agriculture has taken off, it is believed that other sectors cannot fail to grow because this agriculture would supply raw materials to the industries. This sector, agriculture, would require the service sector, etc., etc. So through linkages, other sectors are going to come up. Then part 2 of that question is asking for limitations of the theory. Part 2, mention any 3 limitations of unbalanced growth strategy of development in an economy. The limitation. In other words, what would make Uganda fail to develop or to grow after investing massively in agriculture? What would make Uganda to fail to grow or to develop? In other words, the limitations.
Uganda.
Are limitations the same as disadvantages?
Not exactly. A disadvantage is a negative effect, while a limitation is a hindrance. It's a hindrance. Now, a disadvantage is a negative outcome, but a limitation stops you from achieving what you want to achieve. However, some of the disadvantages can double as limitations. Yes, Regina.
I know list them.
Nena. Yes, Nena, please.
I think it limits government revenue because they are focusing only on one sector, so they are only getting cash flow from one sector.
There is limited government revenue. Now, the limited government revenue is more of a disadvantage than a limitation.
You hear that? You with your
It's more of a disadvantage. When you state it that way, it's going to be a more of a disadvantage than a limitation.
You differentiate between a limitation.
Okay, let's clearly get a difference between limitations and disadvantages. A limitation stops you from achieving. For example, limited capital to invest in this one sector will stop you from doing agriculture so as it pulls others. The limited linkages between the various sectors will stop you from undertaking it, so with the assumption that it will pull others. When it comes to a disadvantage like what our colleague has told us, when you undertake unbalanced growth, when you invest in agriculture alone, you are going to get little revenue or less money because there are few sectors to tax. That is a disadvantage. It is a disadvantage, or it's a negative outcome. I don't know if there is this one. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your names. There is is it Tresha? Tresha,
Yes.
what are you saying? Yes, please.
Limited labor skills.
Yes, thank you. Limited labor skills. Another one. Please go ahead, give us many, because we need 3. We need a minimum of 3. Nena?
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, could you please help re-explain how the limitation comes in terms of unbalanced growth theory? Like, those are the things which prevent the country from adopting the unbalanced growth theory.
That would make it hard for a country to adopt unbalanced growth theory. Or why that theory, if undertaken, may fail to achieve the intended objectives of growth and development. What hinders the country from adopting unbalanced growth strategy? Are we together? While the demerits, while the disadvantages, they come about after implementing that theory. The negative outcomes would make, they are the ones that we call the disadvantages. Are we together? So somebody gave us the limitations as the limited labor skills, the limited capital, the limited market. That one will stop the country to achieve the intended objectives. Trisha?
Was a good.
Yes, Nakato. Using a hand, you can ask. Okay. Now, maybe to simplify, since we did investment under national income, when it comes to these theories, and you are asked to give the limitations, generally, you can use anything that hinders investment, that stops investment to go on, will limit the development strategy and will limit any development strategy, trust me. The poor infrastructure, the limited capital, the poor government policies in line with the investment, and so many others. Can we go to another question? Part C. I don't know, time is running out very fast. Part C was on money and banking, and it was asking for the difference between money supply and then demand for money. Natocho? Natocho? Are you having a question or an inquiry to make? Sorry?
It's an inquiry.
Yes,
an
please.
inquiry.
Go ahead, please.
What has happened with the limitations? Can you get limitations from factors, but depending on the negative side of the factors?
Exactly. You can use the factors, anything that, because on the factors, we have the part that promotes and the parts that limit. So the negative side will can give you the limitations.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Nakato? Dashiba, I'm seeing a hand. Dashiba, I'm seeing a hand. Okay, since there is no other question, we can go on to part C, man and banking. Anybody who had covered man and banking at school? Man and banking, not yet.
Not yet, sir.
Okay. So we can leave that. Part D, public finance. These are usually one of the last topics. Public finance, I think no one. The question was asking for the difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance, then the reasons for tax evasion in an economy. Not yet handled. Okay, then part E is on the private and public sector. That is, suggest any 4 policies that can promote the growth of the private sector in an economy. Actually, it's the very last. Me personally, I teach it. It's the second last topic personally. So, no, anybody who had covered private and public sector. It's one of the short topics, by the way, in economics.
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay. Question 2, section B. It was from price theory. I'm very sure everyone would answer it. Explain the merits and demerits of price mechanism, 14 marks. This is that one. Everyone would answer that one. We covered it on this very platform during the COVID period, and even at school, the teachers covered it very, very well. Explain the merits and demerits of price mechanism, 14 marks. Nena?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
What's the difference between merits and demerits, and then also roles of price mechanism? Okay. What's the difference between those ones and roles?
Merits and demerits, and then roles. Thank you so much for this wonderful question, especially as far as price mechanism is concerned. I don't remember the year, but there was a time where they brought the role and then made effects of price mechanism. I don't know if there is somebody with an answer to her question. There is this Edward, is it Flex? Yes, please, go ahead and ask.
Disadvantages.
Are you having the same concern? Okay. When it comes to price mechanism in particular, or generally, when we are giving the merits and demerits, we are more or less giving the effects. Who is that one talking? Please. You mute somebody and somebody unmutes and goes ahead. Techno Canon 11. A question? Then Shami Zen. Are you having a question?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
What are asking a question that what is the block price mechanism?
Sorry, the what?
They ask you the importance of block price mechanism.
Importance of price mechanism. Okay. All right. Let me try to first answer those two questions. Somebody was asking the difference between merits and demerits, then the roles. When it comes to merits and demerits, you are giving the outcomes, that you are giving the advantages and disadvantages. You are giving the effects of price mechanism, the consequences, the impacts. Take an example. When you look at price mechanism as a concept, one of the positive effects of price mechanism is that it is a cheap system, or it avails, or it helps to avail a variety of goods and services to consumers. However, when you are looking at the role, we are looking at what price mechanism do, what it does exactly. What it does. And when answering it, the language we use here, it encourages, it promotes, it provides. So, present continuous tense. Is that present continuous? That is present tense. It does this. It encourages, it creates competition. It creates a competition. It determines income distribution. It determines the location of the farm, etc., etc. So the role of price mechanism, we look at what price mechanism do in the allocation of resources. While the advantages and disadvantages, we look at the effect, the outcome of the system. I don't know if I've answered you well.
All right.
I don't know if we have got the difference between the two. But when you critically look at them, the positive role is almost comes, actually the advantages comes from the positive roles. The disadvantages come from the negative roles. As outcomes now. I don't know if I'm alone or we are together.
Together, teacher.
Okay. So somebody who is asking the importance, personally, I think the importance are the merits of price mechanism. how important it is. So that question too, we would answer it very well, because part A was asking for the merits and demerits. So the mark allocation is 14, preferably 7-7. You would give 7 points. Then part B suggests measures that should be taken to control the defects of price mechanism in an economy. How would you control the defects of price mechanism? Here the qualifier is with the tense here, measures that should be taken to control. We are looking at the future tense. Measures that should be taken to control. Any question before we leave that? I don't know if I am teaching or we are having a discussion, or hope it's beneficial. There is, I'm seeing some 3 hands.
Some demerits.
Sorry?
Some
Demerits?
Yeah.
You need some of the demerits.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the demerits, personally, I would give things like it promotes income inequalities, because the rich become richer and the poor becomes poorer. It leads to monopoly, especially private monopoly, as weak firms are kicked out of production. It leads to consumer exploitation due to ignorance, if you remember. There is divergence between social and private costs. Social cost and private benefits, as those, especially the producers, try to maximize profits. They want those costs that then it does not cope with the rapid structure changes. It leads to unemployment, as weak farms are pushed out of production. It leads to duplication of resources, which leads to wastage. It leads to instability in prices and incomes due to the fluctuations. It distorts consumer choices due to persuasive advertising. It leads, sorry, am I too fast?
So you are too fast.
Hey, you mean we are writing? I thought we had covered these things at school, members. Okay. Okay. I'm noting. 1, I said, number 1, I said it promotes, it leads to income inequality. It leads to income inequality. It leads to private monopoly. It leads to income inequality. Members in an examination always try to remember that we have to bring out the how. How does it cause income inequality? How does it bring about monopoly? Okay, the explanation. We are not interested in what is income inequality, what is the monopoly, but how does it come about? Okay. Okay, number 3, it leads to consumer exploitation. It leads to consumer exploitation. 4, it leads to divergence between social costs and private benefits. Taking O'Connor, I don't know. The hand is up, trying to, I don't know whether they're trying to communicate. We go ahead. It does not cope with rapid structure changes. Then it leads to unemployment. You know how it arises. Then it leads to foregoing. It leads to foregoing of socially unprofitable but essential services.
How?
How?
Yes.
Remember, with this price mechanism, resources are channeled to where demand is high.
Yes.
So there are some essential services that are not profitable. Resources are not going to be allocated there.
Yeah.
So such services are not provided for in this system because of the profit motive or because of the low profits that are in that area.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then it leads to duplication of activities, which leads to wastage.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please. Sorry?
Beg your pardon on that point you mentioned.
I've talked about it leads to foregoing of socially unprofitable but useful activities or essential services. It leads to foregoing of socially unprofitable but useful services or activities. Then another one, it leads to duplication of activities, which leads to wastage. Then we have, it leads to instability in prices and incomes.
Sir, on duplication, how does it do that? Excuse
So
me?
duplication, how does it lead to duplication?
Yeah, of the resources.
Remember, there is free entry. Now, because of the free entry, whenever somebody earns more profits or makes serious profits, you'll find very many firms entering production doing the same activity. And that, that creates the competition, and you know how competition leads to wastage of resources. So it leads to that wasteful competition because of that free entry. Instead of leaving that activity to be done by one sector or one individual or something of that sort. So that's wastage. That's where wastage comes in.
All right.
Yes, please. Then we talk of it distorts consumer choices. It distorts consumer choices because that's basically because of persuasive advertising that exists. And lastly, but not the least, we talked of instability in incomes and prices. Then lastly, it leads to resource misallocation. It leads to resource misallocation. So basically, those are some of the disadvantages of price mechanism. NS7, you'll be there. Have I still see the question, the hands. Shami? Yes, please.
I was asking that, on that point that you have said that it leads to duplication of activity. What about if we say that it leads to duplication of resources?
Duplication of resources, it's okay.
It's okay. Thank you.
Duplication of resources. Any other question on that before we leave it? Yes, please.
Here you had said that it leads to consumer exploitation. So
yes.
I'm wondering, in one of the things we saw that in price mechanism, the consumers have perfect knowledge of the market.
Exactly.
So how does it lead to consumer exploitation?
Okay, now there is that assumption that there is perfect knowledge, which does not exist in the real world. Okay? Now, consumers are exploited due to their ignorance. There is an element, much as the system assumes perfect knowledge, there is a tendency to assume, for example, that these highly priced goods are of better quality. So you go to buy from a particular supermarket because they are selling expensive goods, thinking that they are better quality goods compared to those on the streets. It is later on that you might discover that it is not the truth. These people are selling goods expensively because of maybe the high cost of operation. They are just transferring the cost to the consumer. So that perfect knowledge that is assumed does not exist. And because of that ignorance that exists, the consumers are exploited in form of either selling to them very expensive, highly priced goods, or even poor quality goods. When you enter, let's say, a restaurant or a hotel, for you, when you said a meal that is served, you don't know what is behind there, where it's prepared from. So because it is looking attractive here on the plate, you will be glad to pay the high price thinking that you are eating a nice or a well-prepared food. Yet the ingredient, the cooking oil that has been used has been reused several times before you get the chicken, the chips, and the rest. So basing on that, the perfect knowledge that it assumes does not exist. Actually, those are some of the limitations of the system, that it assumes assumptions, or it comes up with assumptions that do not exist in the real world. Are we together?
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
Misallocation of resources.
Can I hear from one person at a go? Isaac? Let me start with Isaac. Isaac D. Then Dorothy. Any other question or concern?
Teacher?
Yes, please.
How does it lead to misallocation of resources, and also help explain the point of it doesn't cope with rapid structure changes?
Okay. Okay, let me start with the misallocation of resources. Now, remember, according to this system, resources are allocated where the profits are, or where we have people that can afford to buy. So you realize that the rich are going to attract all the resources. So there is going to be production of luxurious commodities because they are highly expensive, ignoring those items required by the low-income earners. Of course, we have already seen that it leads to income inequalities. We have the rich and we have the poor in the system. So because the poor cannot afford to buy, all the resources that are in the production of those commodities for the poor are going to be removed and allocated in those goods required by the rich. To us economists, that is the misallocation of resources, as some goods are going to disappear from the market. They are not well allocated according to the needs of the economy. So that is how it leads to misallocation of resources. then we are saying that it does not cope with rapid structural changes. Now, if there is a sudden change in the economy, for example, there is a war. You just remember the last time we had COVID. During COVID time, despite the high demand for education, save for this platform, schools were closed, yet the demand for parents to open up schools was very high. They are willing to pay high prices, but the schools were closed. So during such unplanned situations, the system cannot allocate resources. Should there be a sudden change in demand, when COVID had just come in, there was a high demand for masks. The masks were nowhere to be seen in the short time. It was later on that those masks started coming on market. So a sudden change in demand will not allocate resources. This system will not allocate resources to such goods and services. That's why we say it cannot cope up with the rapid change in the economy, especially the structure. Are we together?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I think we can now move from that question and move on. Question 3. Yes. Natochi before Natocho. I'm seeing a hand. Okay. Question 3. Sorry? Hilda, are you asking a question on? Okay. Question 3, we are supposed to study the table below and answer the question that follow. This is on production. The question required you to calculate the average fixed cost, the average variable cost, the marginal cost, and then stating the level of output that would maximize profits. That is the theory of costs, which you covered. Then part B of it was asking about why may a farm continue operating even when it does not cover its fixed cost of production. 16 marks. Why may a farm continue operating when it does not cover its fixed cost of production? Now here, you needed to know the difference between break-even point and shutdown point. But the question is particularly asking, why may a farm continue producing below the break-even but above the shutdown? In between there. Shami, any question? Any concern on that question? Yes. Is it Edwin?
Yes, it is Edwin, sir.
Yes, Edwin.
What is the meaning of breakdown?
Okay, I've said break-even point, and then shut down point. Under production, somebody, there is a one to give an answer.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Not really.
Okay. Go ahead.
You see, for us, we had not yet reached those terms, so I'm not understanding that. Or maybe how?
Maybe, Daisy, let me ask, had you covered the theory of costs?
Costs? No, we are still in production, but now behind, not yet at that.
Okay. So you want us to
consumer or producer revenue, something like that.
Okay. Now, to start on market structures, you must have covered, okay, to understand market structures well, you must have understood the theory of cost and the theory of revenue. Let me also get Nena's concern. Nena?
Teacher, I have an answer.
Okay, you have an answer. Maybe before giving us that answer, Shami?
Sir.
Yes, please. Sorry?
I have an answer for break-even point.
Okay, you have an answer for break-even and shutdown. Then Irene?
Yeah.
Irene? Unmute and talk to us. Irene? How about Dorothy? Dorothy?
Also have an answer for it.
Okay, you have an answer to, okay. Let me get it from the last one. Dorothy, can you give us the difference between break-even point and shutdown point? As we get somebody to answer for us the question, maybe before, just a moment, we shall get somebody to give us the reasons why a farm may continue operating below the break-even point. Yes, Dorothy, go ahead.
At which a farm under competition neither earns abnormal profit nor makes losses, and the shutdown point refers to a point in the production process below which a farm under perfect competition cannot cover the valuable costs of production.
Okay, thank you so much. So, dear candidates, Deborah has told us that the break-even point here, at this point, the farm is earning normal profits. That is, average revenue equals to average cost. So it is not earning supernormal and it's not earning any loss. In other words, it is earning normal profits. Then with the shutdown point, here the farm is earning losses. However, the farm is in position to cover all the variable costs of production. The farm is in position to cover all the variable costs of production. So by definition, break-even point, this is the point where a farm is neither making abnormal profits nor incurring losses, or it is earning normal profits, or where average revenue equals to average cost. Then when it comes to the shutdown point, it's a point below which a farm cannot cover its average cost of production.
Okay. Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, please. Go ahead and ask. I'm not getting the question. You're breaking. don't know who was asking. Is it Shami or TWS?
No.
TWS? TWS, I can't hear you. Okay, Shami, can you please give us the reasons why the farm may continue producing below the break-even point?
Is it the
Yes, please.
Is it the question why the farm is still hard, like why the farm is still having losses, but it's
Yes, it's the same. It's the same question.
So when the farm is expecting to get loan, another answer, when the farm when the farm the tax unit so expects losses in the short run with hope of making profits in the long run.
Okay.
When the farm is a family business, yeah, I can only give those.
Okay. So members, for as long as here you are basically explaining or you are trying to bring out the fact that despite the fact that the farm is incurring losses, but is continuing to produce. It is producing despite the fact that it's not covering all, especially it's not covering the fixed costs. For as long as it can cover the variable costs, it's continuing to produce. So here she has given us the points. A farm being a beginner farm, usually when you are just starting the production, chances are that the fixed costs are very high, but despite those high costs, despite the fact that you are making losses, you are very sure that maybe in the long run, you will cover all of those costs and earn the profits. Then she has talked about those costs being seasonal. I'm getting feedback, members. I'm getting feedback. So basically, dear candidates, that question 3, part B, remember it was asking for why may a farm continue operating even when it does not cover its fixed cost of production. For as long as you can remember the break even, why a farm may produce below the break even, but it does not go below the shutdown, then you will be there. Is it okay going to another question? Natocho?
Teacher. So what is confusing is
yes,
you said that the break-even point is the point where the firm will earn more profits, right?
Yes.
And again, why are you saying that? With the reasons that why? Okay, you all like break-even. Okay, why a firm continues to operate below the break-even point? It's also the same as asking why a firm continues to operate incurring losses.
Yes. Okay. Maybe what we need to get clearly is break even, the firm is earning normal profit. It's earning 0. No losses, no supernormal. But shut down, the firm is earning a loss. But that loss, the loss, using that loss or the revenue got by this farm, the farm is in position to recover all of the variable costs of production. It can pay for raw materials, it can pay for the salary, the wages, it can pay the electricity bills, etc, etc. However, the farm cannot cover or cannot pay for the fixed costs of production. So we are asking, why would the farm continue producing or operating at a loss? So that means that it is operating below the break-even point. When it comes to the theory of production, we need to understand that the farm will operate under a loss, but that loss, it will continue operating under that loss up to a certain extent. So should that farm fall below the shutdown point, that farm is going to close. Are we together? The farm is going to close below the shutdown point. But above the shutdown, it will going to continue operating.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes, please. Fine. Question 4. Question 4 is from, it came from national income. That is, what are the causes of income inequalities in an economy? 8 marks. Then examine the implications of income inequalities in an economy. Was the question friendly?
A bit, teacher.
Okay. Anybody who had not covered, who has not yet covered national income at school, or who did not cover national income at school? Yes, Hilary is saying that for them, they never covered the national income. Okay, plus, is that one Irene or Lynn? I don't know to pronounce that name. Lynn. Okay, this question comes from a topic, national income and income distribution. So the question is, why are some people rich and why are some people poor? That is the question. You can even use general knowledge from your GP and answer. However, there are some technical words that you must use. By the way, the normal things that we see, the level of education causes that. But it's not the education itself, but the differences in the education levels or differences in the level of what? Education. Here, the assumption that the highly educated are paid more or they land on juicy jobs, while those that are not highly educated, they land on low-paying jobs, and therefore some are highly paid and others are less paid. Nena, you have a question or a concern?
An answer.
An answer. Then Shina, Shami.
An answer.
An answer. Okay. Who has not given us an answer? There is this one, Lynn. Is it Irene Linen? I don't know. She has not spoken. Yes. Can you talk to us? Give us the answers. Causes of income inequalities.
There is uneven distribution of natural resources.
Uneven distribution of natural resources. Thank you.
There is differences in the level of education and skills.
Differences in the level of education and skills. Thank you.
There is
differences
and natural ability.
Differences in the natural abilities. Thank you.
And there is differences in distribution and development of social and economic infrastructure.
Differences in the development of infrastructure. Thank you.
And there were differences in trade union influence.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And differences.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
What of differences in family background?
It is okay. It has no problem.
Okay,
it's a correct answer. It's a correct answer.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
What if I use the concept of minimum price legislation because it is not all about Uganda? And then I say that minimum price legislation also leads to income inequality in that it increases the profits of the producers and then lowers the incomes of the consumers. Will it be true?
It will not be true. Only that that is going to bring, because when it comes to that concept, we are looking at government, because here government is controlling the prices, not so?
Yeah.
So the point here is going to be uneven government policies.
Okay.
Are you getting that? Where all uneven wage policies, government wage policies, where government pays workers, actually, even in the teachers, the arts teachers, you know, they are being given something small compared to the science teachers, and yet they are all teaching. You can't imagine somebody doing economics, physics economics, but because he's teaching economics, he's paid less compared to somebody who is teaching physics, and yet they did the same combination.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so there are different points. Maybe before we complete we get all of the answers as Linen was giving us, here what you need to emphasize is that either differences, uneven distribution, or variation in. Once you forget those terms, then you are going to be marked wrong.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
I'm asking, when you're explaining these causes, what is the main concept they need, like in your explanation? That main thing, like what is the aspect you are bringing out to explain it?
How here you are giving us basically how that point you've given brings about one earning more and another one earning less.
Excuse me, sir.
I don't know. Let me first handle one at a time. Is it clear, member? Is it clear? If you talk about differences.
Sir.
Yes.
What you're meaning, we have to bring out this aspect of high income and low income.
Low incomes.
Low incomes, yeah?
Yes, because you are telling us differences in this, differences in family backgrounds. You tell us how somebody coming from the rich family is going to earn more than somebody coming from the low income background. Differences in the level of education. You tell us how the highly skilled or the highly learned is earning more than the less learned.
So what you mean is that the answers are supposed to be two-sided?
Because here we are looking at inequalities. It is two-sided. That's why even the point statement is two-sided. Differences in, variations in, uneven distribution of.
All right.
Are we together? Thank you. Yes. Yes, please.
How do you phrase the point of labor market? Do we set differences in the labor market?
The labor market can be, I don't know where labor market, we are looking at labor supply, differences in labor supply or labor demand. Because that labor that is highly demanded is highly paid compared to that labor that is, I think that is to do with elasticity. Let me see how I can phrase the point. I'll give it at the end.
Okay.
Or if somebody else can phrase it rephrase it for us as we move on.
Teacher, can I try?
Yes, please.
Teacher, for differences in the elasticity of supply of labor. Okay. So the labor which have inelastic supply, those are the ones who are hard to get. For example, the neurosurgeons, they earn a higher income because they are not easy to acquire. While the labor who have elastic supply, for example, people who make chapati, like many people know how to make chapati.
Yes.
So for them, they are easy to acquire, so they earn a low income.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Now, can we look at part B of the question, unless when there is a concern from one of you? Part B was asking for implications. Examine the implications of income inequalities in an economy, 12 marks. What does the question require? Examine the implications of income inequalities in an economy. What does the question require?
Effects. The question requires
the effects. Okay. And when we want the effects, we at the same time need the advantages and disadvantages. Thank you so much. So since it is 12 marks, can you give us some 6 advantages and 6 disadvantages of income inequalities? Then you will be there. You will be there. So members, that was question 4. I don't know if we need to give the details. Especially if since we have people who never covered the national income and income distribution, we can go ahead to give the advantages and disadvantages of income inequalities.
Let me give 2.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
It promotes hard work among the poor.
Yes, thank you.
Another one, it generates more government revenue.
Okay.
And this is excuse me?
Yes, how does it generate more revenue?
This is through progressive tax, where high income earners pay high tax rate, and the low income earners pay a low tax rate.
Okay. Maybe you will avoid using that rate. With progressive taxation here, the low income earners, we are interested, since the emphasis is on revenue, more revenue, we emphasize the overtaxing or taxing the rich that are willing to pay that generate that revenue. Thank you. Other merits, other advantages or positive consequences? Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. It encourages mobility of labor.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Another one.
It makes labor affordable.
It makes labor affordable. Yes.
Government is awakened to the responsibility of providing necessary infrastructure.
That is very, very good, especially when it comes to developing countries. Any other?
It leads to high levels of saving.
Okay, although that one has a condition among the rich, because they have a marginal propensity to save, a high marginal propensity to save. Yes, another one.
It leads to high levels of investment among the rich.
Okay. Any other?
It provides cheap labor.
So it provides cheap labor. I've not heard this, the last person.
Yes.
Okay. So we have said that it encourages hard work among the poor. It raises more revenue through progressive taxation to the government. It encourages savings among the rich. Then it avails cheap labor. Then it encourages a harmonious working relationship between the employer and the employee. When you're an employee, you always look up to the employer because you anticipate something. He's richer than you. That's why you work for him. Then there is it promotes labor mobility, especially among the low-income earners who move to high-paying jobs. Then it promotes saving, especially among the rich. Then it leads to increased resource utilization. Then it promotes innovation among the poor as they try to think of how to move out of poverty. Basically those ones. So they are around 9, 10, NS6 you would be there. Then these demerits or negative consequences, NS6. Shami?
It increases expenditure.
It increases government expenditure as it tries to do its work of providing for the poor. Yes.
The poor are exploited.
It leads to the exploitation of the poor.
It promotes
it leads to high crime rate because the poor steal in order to get income.
Okay, high crime rate among the poor especially.
It promotes
It leads to underutilization of resources.
Okay, there is the brain drain as people move to look for greener pastures. Then there is underutilization of resources due to limited resources.
It makes the government unpopular.
It makes the government unpopular as those people. Yeah, okay. Making government unpopular is the same as political tension. Thank you. Okay, let me give an outline to save on the time. Somebody mentioned leading to income inequality. There is a limited market. It makes the market small since majority are poor. Then it leads to urban migration as people move from rural areas to urban areas. Here we are interested in the negative effects. So it leads to urban migration with its associated evils or negative effects. Then we talked of social tension between the rich and the poor, those conflicts that exist there. It limits investment because of the limited demand. Then distorts the allocation of resources because the resources are channeled to luxurious goods, forgetting those produced by the poor. Then somebody talked about brain drain. It leads to brain drain as the highly skilled manpower moves to other countries, especially developed countries, for greener pastures. It breeds apathy among the poor. All the time you are envious about the rich. Then unpopularity of the government. Somebody mentioned that one. Somebody talked about leads to balance. No, it leads to balance of payment deficits. How? This arises due to importation because whatever is produced sometimes is not enough. Somebody talked about leads to high crime rate. especially the stealing, the prostitution, as the poor try to find a cheaper means of raising revenue or income. Then it leads to low income revenue, especially where the poor are the majority. It leads to low government revenue. Then it leads to exploitation of the poor by the rich. Somebody mentioned that. It leads to low savings. Somebody also mentioned that. So there are around 13, 14 demerits. Give around NS6, you'll be there. Okay, that was question 4. Do we proceed, members?
Yes.
Neda. Somebody is saying Neda because they tell us to stop at 4. Incidentally, we have not looked at paper 2, but basically what I want to emphasize is what I said at the introduction, that each topic contributes only one question. Each topic contributes only one question on the UNEBO paper. So my dear candidates, I beg of you, I request you not to spot. Do not spot. Look at the syllabus, all those 16 topics. Read each topic independently, expecting just one question of either 4 marks or 20 marks. You can't imagine reading the whole production from what is the production up to the last part, which is the which market structure is this? Oligopoly. Up to oligopoly, and you find only one question in section 8. You can't imagine. So, please, my dear candidates, let's read. I'm very sure some of you already have the syllabus. TWS, please, if you're unmuting, unmute if you have something to communicate to us. But there are other people talking, and we get some feedback, which is not good. So I was saying that please, let's be mindful of our revision. We should not spot. There are only 11 topics that are examined out of the 16. And there is no guarantee that what has not been examined in paper 1, it will come in paper 2. There is no that guarantee. No. It is possible to bring back the same topics, sometimes the same questions. The only difference is that in paper 2, it is application. Instead of asking us what are the causes of income inequality in an economy, they'll ask for what are the causes of income inequality in Uganda. So they are the same topics. Dear candidates, time has never been on our side, but I pray that next time we meet, we shall be discussing topics. We shall get a topic and we discuss it. We would have started on, say, inflation, because the inflation, we need like 2 days to cover it. A topic like but structure, I think we covered it. Unemployment, some people covered, some did not. So without adding anything, I want to thank you so much for your participation, your contribution. I pray that the good Lord guides you and keeps you safe. He guides you on what to revise, because not everything that we are going to read is going to be examined in UNEB and at our schools. I pray that we all pass this subject, because really there is nothing beautiful like getting a distinction in both papers and an A in economics. I look forward to see so many teachers of economics and to see so many people joining economics at tertiary institutions. I thank you for listening to me. Unless if there is a unique question, I'll be glad to answer it. But thank you for listening to me.
for teaching.
Yes, there was a hand.
Next we attend at the same time on the same day.
Sorry?
Do we attend at the same time on the same day next week?
Incidentally, I'm going for marking. I'm sorry to say this. I'm not supposed to say it. I'm reporting for marking soon. Next week I'll not be back, keeping other factors constant. But probably after marking, we shall be together. But at least, if anything, there will be a communication. They will communicate.
Thank you very much, teacher.
You're welcome, and thank you for attending. I wish you all God's blessings until we meet next time.
Thank
you. Thank you. Thank you. It's a nice time.
Nice time too.
Nice time.
Thank you.
Thanks for teaching.
You're welcome.
Number. Rose nkoledde ggwe.
Edini bive kugenda osoma ebitabo.
Ebitabo towulidde omusomesa tugambye bbayi tugende tuwummulemu.
Genda olye emmere obudde okaaba njala.
Nange leso nebadde nnungi.